It is one of the positive developments in this state that the department which deals with local government deals with both these and in rural development. It's hardly the case elsewhere. I have been around this country along with R.K. Singh in the context of the work of the Administrative Reforms Commission in the last 3.5 to 4 years. And as the worshipful mayor said, things vary considerably from one part of the country to the other. There is no doubt about that. And I have a pet saying in the commission and elsewhere also, that India lives simultaneously in a broad band of 2000 BC to 2010 AD. Because Kerala is one of the places living in 2010 AD, but has a lot of its own problems. What we find is that, as R.K. Singh said, arrangements which are good, which are rooted in the society, get accepted by all, and they tend to be stable. But unfortunately there are, as pointed out earlier by me and the Minister, ups and downs. I have watched attempts at local government in this state for over 5 decades, as everyone knows. And I have worked with every shade of government, every possible coalitions here, including the stable ones of UDF and LDF. Currently I am chairman, I am the commission which is looking into the delays and the problems of utilization of funds in major projects in this state. As a result of all this, I find a lot of strengths, of course, which have been mentioned, but a lot of weaknesses which have to be rectified. For example, if I take my latest work which I am doing here, say water supply scheme in Trivandrum city, any number of memoranda have been received by me about the fact that people wake up one morning, come out to their gate to find that somebody is digging the road. They have not been told. It's as simple as that. Roads have to be dug up for water supply. But there is no consultation with the local people as to when it will be done, where it will be done. They are not even informed. The worshipful mayor rightly said that the right to information has gone a long way. It is a demand-based getting of information. The very same act says that what Subamoto agencies should give us information. That has hardly been done. Even here, it has hardly been done. I have a review of the use of Section 4.1 in the state. It has hardly been done. So, as was stated earlier, there are many positive developments here. In every field, the stakeholders are participating in some way. But it is all mainly in planning and sometimes in running institutions like schools, hospitals and all that. But all these are components, are parts of larger governance. And what JNURRM also is viewed as a collection of schemes and supply of buses. Unfortunately, my view of it is very different. It is an integrated view of urban development like we attempted in rural areas. If you take JNURRM as an integrated urban development program, in which there have inevitably to be some schemes on transport, road widening, water supply, electricity, this, that and whatnot, and metros. But schemes do not make the program. The program is a larger one, part of urban governance and its improvement. So very first requirement is to empower urban governments adequately, which has not been done even here, despite the fact the law and procedures here are much better than elsewhere. How could it be taken further? For example, we are studying the Trivandrum Corporation, and it doesn't have the organizational capacity to deal with JNU or RM program or the Cochin Corporation. It needs professional services. It needs competent technical and professional people. It just can't appoint them even today. So organizational capacity has got to be improved significantly in urban governments. Along with that, the various forms of community participation which are already there in the form of suggestions, getting information, demanding better service, all as demands and rights. But it is better to put down somewhere what are the rights and responsibilities of the local government. Just for example, the local government has got to consult these people at these various levels. Very simply, I am not taking great things. You are more informed and you will discuss it later, and time is short. What are the rights and responsibilities of the urban local government? What are the rights and responsibilities of the citizens in various forms, stakeholders and elsewhere? Not just the rights alone. Not just they can demand information, not that they can give suggestions, not that they can demand better services, not that they can complain, which all of which are essential. But simultaneously, what are their responsibilities? Now, therefore, the essentials of the rights and responsibilities of local government and the rights and responsibilities of citizens groups, be they ward organizations, residents, ward associations, area sabhas, by whatever name you call them, you can slightly vary it from place to place. But certain ground level organizations have to be recognized, basically. And all these are better put down in a formal way, in a flexible way, not in a rigid way. Laws can be formed in two ways. One, in a very rigid way. The 73rd and 74th amendments of the Constitution have ensured that at least there will be local governments in this country. But it has many details which are not followed anywhere and everywhere. But therefore in India, a constitutional provision has been necessary just to make clear that there will be local governments in this country. It is not even clear that elections will be held once in 5 years everywhere. Take for example the Bangalore Municipal Corporation. Therefore, giving one of the means of empowering the people and the local government simultaneously is to lay down certain things in a legal framework on which, at least as a crutch, they can rely on. Otherwise, from time to time, governments come and go. And as I said, I have been with governments of various shades. And within each government, there are peoples of various shades. There are people who are totally for local government, as the Honorable Minister and his able set of secretaries and officers. And currently even there are people who are totally against local government. And they are my friends, both of them are my friends. That's why I am telling that I know their feeling. Their people have their own ideology. It was the case with the previous government when I was Vice Chairman Planning Commission. Everything that the Chief Minister wanted to do used to be scuttled by a minister or other. But in order that the Constitution in India was made so detailed, Pandit Nehru and Ambedkar said, when asked, why is it so detailed? Everything we are doing for the first time, democracy has not taken roots in India, and we don't want everything to become contentious. Certain things should be kept beyond contention of day-to-day politics. And therefore, this will be accepted in the Constitution, and once in the Constitution, slowly it will sink in that it has somehow or other to be followed. That is what has sunk in in our system so far to some extent or other. Therefore, it is not a question of whether you have a law, as the worshipful mayor said, or don't have a law. If we are so mature in democracy that we can follow conventions and systems established, fine. I am not one who will say law is needed. But unfortunately, the winds are in multiple directions still, especially as regards our local government. And in local governments, especially as regards urban government. And the urgency for this is this, that the next 15 to 20 years is going to be the critical period for the regeneration of Indian cities, which were neglected during the last 2 to 3 decades. If this regeneration has to take place properly, in time, at low cost, and to the satisfaction of everybody, and in a way that doesn't create for the next coming generations, then the maintenance of the urban system, its development, its services, have all to be done in such a way that the people who are now there are participants in it. So the principles of participation, the forms of participation may be many, the essentials of it may all be first put down. I would request that the discussion need not be whether there should be a law or should not be a law, rather than this kind of principle. Once they are listed, whether they should form a legal framework or not is the next step that can be desired. But that is not clear. I asked the worshipful mayor, can you appoint a senior engineer to do it? He said no. Just now I asked him. And how do you run a big development program? He cannot appoint. So starting from empowerment, consultation, community participation, new things have to be done in this state, which have already gone forward, but which the current situation is creating a lot of difficulty for the people. When you are developing, widening roads, people don't know. When you are digging pits for the electricity, BSNL, water supply, X, Y and Z, people don't know. You have to set right. So first list down the principles, list down the forms, list down what requires to be done, and then discuss whether it is worthwhile that all these are incorporated in a flexible legal framework so that they have some stability, so that people in X and Y cannot deal with it this way. This is all I wanted to say by opening remark. I'm sorry I could not stand up and address you. I'm thankful to you for your patient hearing.